Should you dollar cost average your money into the market or put the whole lump sum in at once? At Ground Truth, we take a money claim your feed keeps serving you and we put a price on it. Today's is from a video by Irene Zhu, and her answer is blunt. Do not feed it in slowly. Put it to work. We tried to break that and could not. She is right. But her video never tells you what the slow way costs, neither does any other one we watched. So, we priced it. $100,000 every start month in the last century with 10 years on the clock. Spread that money into the market over a year instead of investing it on day one, and the typical result is that you end up $8,775 poorer. And the slow way has a proper name. People call it dollar cost averaging, which just means buying in fixed installments on a schedule instead of all in one go. You have heard it recommended 100 times. You have probably never heard it priced. That number is a premium, because feeding money in slowly is not really an investing strategy. It is an insurance policy, and the thing it insures is your entry date. Picture the policy as an actual piece of paper you buy. The money you give up is what it costs. The crash you dodge is what it pays, and like any policy, it is only worth owning if the payout is worth the premium. Before we ran a single month, we wrote down what we expected to find. We predicted this policy was cheap protection, that on the rarer occasions easing in wins, it would win much bigger than it normally loses. Small premium, large payout. That prediction is in writing, it is dated, and it comes due before the end of this video. So, 3 questions. 1. What does it cost to ease in? 2. What does that buy you? And 3. Which one should you do? Keep all 3, because we are going to answer them in that order. This is Ground Truth. This is the audit of the most repeated piece of investing advice on the internet. Quick note. This is education and entertainment, not advice. We test ideas. We do not tell you what to do with your money. You just got the money, and the market is at an all-time high. It is always at an all-time high. That is what markets do. So you put the whole lot in on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, it falls off a cliff. How do you feel? Split it into 12 pieces instead, and you are never that person. You are never the one who went all in on the worst morning of the year. That is a good argument. It is the reason this advice is everywhere, and nothing in this video is going to call it stupid. But notice what it is. It is a feeling, and feelings do not come with price tags, so we went and built one so that the next time somebody tells you to ease in, you know exactly what they are asking you to pay. Now, here is the strange part. There is one study almost every video on this subject reaches for, including hers. 5 imaginary investors, each handed $2,000 a year for 20 years, $40,000 each by the end. The 5 of them are characters, and they are the fun part. One has perfect timing and buys the exact low of every single year. One has the worst timing imaginable and buys the exact high. One invests the moment the money arrives. One dribbles it in across the year. And the 5th never buys stocks at all and leaves the whole lot in treasury bills, which is government cash, the safest thing there is. Now look at what that test is actually asking. Every one of those investors gets $2,000 a year, 20 separate times. So the only question on the table is whether this year's money goes in during January or gets spread across the rest of that same year. That is a question about a paycheck. It is a good question. It is just not the one you are asking. We are calling this one the study that doesn't test it. We rebuilt it anyway, because reproducing the thing you are about to disagree with is the cheapest honesty there is, and it reproduces. Over the exact window the study uses, 1978 to 1998, investing immediately finishes ahead of dribbling it in by $8,166. As a share of what the immediate investor ended up with, that is a gap of 2.67%. 2.67%. On a question about your monthly paycheck. And that result is being quoted at somebody who just inherited $100,000 in one go. Those are not the same decision. One is about a habit, the other is about a moment. Nobody had run the moment, so we did. Here is the test. $100,000 and one decision to make with it. The first version puts every dollar in on day 1. The second splits it into 12 equal pieces and buys 1 piece a month for a year. And the money that has not gone in yet does not sit in a shoebox. It earns what cash earns. We put it in 1 month. Treasury bills, which is about as close to a savings account as history gives us. That matters because it is the fairest possible version of the slow way. We are not rigging this against easing in. We are paying it interest while it waits. Then we value both people on the same day, 10 years later. Same money, same market, same finish line. The only difference between the two of them is the path in. And then we ran that entire comparison again, starting in every single month of the last century that has a full 10 years of market history after it. 1,043 starting months, so that the answer you get is a century of history and not one lucky decade. One thing before the numbers, because it decides how you read every one of them. When we say the typical result, we mean the median. Picture all 1,043 outcomes lined up in a row, worst on the left, best on the right, and then walk along until you reach the one standing exactly in the middle. That one is the median. It is not an average. Averages get dragged around by disasters at the edges. The middle one is just the ordinary case. So, putting the whole lot in immediately beats easing in 67.5% of the time. That is the headline, and it is not close. That figure is not ours alone. Vanguard has published about 2/3 for years on a different portfolio and a different sample. We did not reproduce their study, and we are not claiming to. Our number simply landed next to theirs, which is the sort of thing that should make you trust a result slightly more. Fine, so I lose 2 times in 3. I never said it was a bet, I said it was protection. So tell me what the protection costs. Gladly. Spread $100,000 over 3 months instead of investing it on day 1, and 10 years later the typical gap is $1,738. That is the cheapest version of this policy money can buy. Stretch it to a full year, which is what most people mean when they say they are easing in, and the typical gap is $8,775. Stretch it to 2 years, and the typical gap is $18,072 on $100,000. For being careful. Now look at the shape of that. Every time you double how long you wait, the bill a little more than doubles. There is no threshold, no cliff, no safe amount of dithering. We are calling that the doubling rule, and it tells you something the latter alone does not. The premium is not charged on the decision to ease in, it is charged by the month. And that is question 1, answered. Easing in is not charged by the decision, it is charged by the calendar. That was the premium. Now, the payout. And this is the part where we lose our own bet. Take those 1,043 months and sort them into 2 piles. The pile where easing in lost, which is 2/3 of them, and the pile where easing in won, which is the other third. Then ask what the typical month in each pile was worth. In the pile where easing in lost, the typical month gave up $18,382. In the pile where easing in won, the typical month saved $16,300. Say that back slowly. What you give up is bigger than what you save, and you give it up twice as often. That is not the shape of cheap insurance, that is the shape of expensive insurance. Which is the exact opposite of what we wrote down. We predicted this policy paid out big on the rare occasions it paid at all. It does not. We lost our own prediction on our own data. We are telling you because writing a prediction down is worthless if you only report the ones you got right. You are still only counting the money. I never bought this to make money. I bought it so I do not lie awake. That is fair, and it is the best argument you have. So let us go and find the night you are afraid of. Let me show you 1 month. Not a typical one. The worst one. Somewhere in a century of starting months there has to be a single worst month to hand somebody $100,000, and it is August 1931. 2 people, same $100,000, same August. The one who put it all in on day 1 had $130,000 10 years later. The one who fed the same money and over the following 12 months had $228,000. Easing in did not soften that month. It nearly doubled the outcome. That is 1 month, and 1 month proves very little on its own. So here is the general version, measured across all 1,043 of them. How often does going all in leave you holding less than you put in 10 years later? After inflation, 13.5% of the time. That is not a rounding error. And that figure comes with a confession. Before we ran anything, we registered an inflation-adjusted version of this test. We loaded the inflation data, and then we never ran it. An outside review caught the omission. When we did run it, every headline number in this video survived untouched, but that one statistic nearly tripled. Before inflation, it is under 5%. After it, 13.5%. We are giving you the bigger, less flattering one. Now, back to August 1931, because there is a trap sitting inside it. Nobody chose that month. Nobody could have. The person it rescued was not skilled and did not know a thing you do not know. They happened to be standing somewhere when something fell. So, let us move the month and leave the person exactly as they are. Slide the start date 19 months forward to March of 1933 and run the identical policy. Same rule, same caution, same $100,000. That time, easing in cost $105,710. Same policy, same decade, same country. 19 months apart, and the answer swings by more than the money you started with. When a result moves that far on something the person had no say in, it is not skill and it is not strategy. Around here, we call that weather. But weather is real, and this policy does cover it. In the worst 5% of every start month we tested, the roughly 1 in 20 where the timing genuinely goes against you, easing in saves you at least $39,676. That is the payout. It is real, it is rare, and you cannot schedule it. And that is question 2, answered. What easing in buys you is the worst weather, at a price you pay every single month whether the weather comes or not. Back to the 3 questions. 1. What does it cost to ease in? 2. What does that buy you? And 3. Which one should you do? It costs about $8,775 on $100,000 for a year of easing in. That is the typical case, and the typical case is what you should be planning around. And it buys you the left tail. That is the name for the small bad end of the range of things that can happen to you, about 1 start in 20, worth around $40,000 when it lands. The other 19 times, you paid for a claim you never made. And the reason is boring, which is usually the sign that it is the real one. Cash earns less than stocks. That is the entire mechanism. Every month your money spends waiting is a month it is not being paid. We did not decompose that formally, so take it as our reading rather than our measurement, but there is nothing cleverer hiding underneath it. So, the verdict is conditional, and we are not going to round the condition off to make it quotable. It comes down to one question, and the question is about you, not about the market. If a bad entry would make you sell, and I mean actually sell, at the bottom, in the real world, then easing in is a reasonable thing to buy, and now you know the sticker price. If you would hold through it, put the money in. We call that the hold-through test. And that is question 3, answered, except that we cannot answer it for you. Every other input in this video came from a century of data. This one comes from knowing yourself, and it is the only input that changes the recommendation. 2 things we did not test, said plainly. Deploying at once and deploying over a year create different taxable events, and we did not model tax. Every number in this video sits before it. And this video cannot tell you what to buy. We tested the decision about when, not the decision about what you own. Those are different questions, and this was only the first of them. So what survives? Irene Zhu's advice survives. Do not dribble it in, put it to work. We went looking for the run that kills that, and there is not one. We tried, and we lost a prediction of our own doing it. And her caveat survives too, which is the rarer thing. She went looking for the case against her own conclusion, and she flagged one. A 20-year stretch, 1955 to 1974, where Treasury bills beat both the investor who bought immediately and the investor who eased in. We tested it, and on both of our data sets, it holds. 20 years out of a century, and she found it herself and told you about it. So here is the bill, one more time. 3 months of easing in costs you $1,738. 2 years costs you $18,072. Same money, same market. You are simply paying by the month for the feeling of being careful. And here is what would change our mind. Show us an investor for whom a 1 in 20 payout of around $40,000 is genuinely worth what a year of easing in costs, which is $8,775, and expensive insurance becomes priced insurance, and that person should go and buy it. Or show us a market outside the United States where this whole thing reverses. Every number here comes from American markets, which are among the luckiest long runs on record, and we are not pretending otherwise. Until one of those lands, the answer stands where we left it. If you can hold through a bad entry, put it in. And here's the part that travels well beyond this one decision. Whenever somebody tells you a habit is safer, ask 2 things. What is the premium? And is the thing it protects against the thing that actually frightens you? That is where the record stands today. This is ground truth. The machine is always hungry.